Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today we're going to be talking about the best way to use AI for your particular use case. Specifically, we're going to be talking about how you can fine-tune AI models, and in today's video, we're going to be fine-tuning GPT. But before we get started, what is fine-tuning? When we fine-tune models, it allows us to take a base model like GPT 3.5 or GPT 4 and laser in its outputs to get higher quality and more consistent results at scale. Currently, there's a bunch of videos on YouTube right now on this particular topic, but most of them are over 20 minutes long and they all require you to learn how to code. Not to mention, most of these videos are 6 months to a year old, and there's a few things that have changed, which I'll point out throughout the video. So in today's video, I plan on creating a file for this very specific use case, uploading it to OpenAI to train a model, and showing you how to use it. I'll also show you a couple shortcuts that I came up with that will save you time when you're fine-tuning models and take the difficulty and coding out of the equation. Welcome back, y'all. This is gonna be one of my more complex videos found on this channel. It's gonna require a tiny bit of code. So if you don't like that, go ahead and hit the first link in the description. You can book a call with our team and we'll build this out completely for you and for your particular use case. But if you do like that and you want to see how you can fine-tune an OpenAI API model, then this video is for you. I'm going to show you how to create the file. I'm going to show you how to upload the file, and I'm going to show you how to start actually calling that endpoint in the context of code. First things first, I'm going to leave the fine-tuning documentation down in the description below so you can follow along with everything I'm about to do in today's video. But essentially, there's 4 main steps to fine-tuning a model. The first one is preparing and uploading training data, training a new fine-tuned model, so uploading that and waiting for it to train, evaluating the results when we test it out, and going back to step 1 if we need to retrain the model, and then finally using your fine-tuned model within your application. Now, there's a few reasons why you might want to use fine-tuning over an assistant, a custom GPT, or just ChatGPT in general. Maybe you're looking for responses that are not that creative, they're not that diverse in output, and you want more structured outputs from ChatGPT. So if this is the case, using fine-tuning may be the option for you if you want more consistency rather than, holy crap, ChatGPT just wrote a 500-word email to my boss because I was too lazy to respond myself. So we don't want this creative. We want this to perform a very specific task for us. Now, when we're fine-tuning a model, there's a very specific way that we need to feed it information to get these structured responses. So I'm going to show you the traditional way of formatting this data set, and I'm going to show you the new way, All right, so first things first, let's take a look at the example formats of what data is going to be going into our fine-tuned model. So there's 3 main portions that I want to chat about. First is the prompt that's going into our AI model. So in this case, we have the role of system, meaning this is the prompt. And then here's the example. Marv is a factual chatbot that is also sarcastic. So we're trying to create a chatbot here that gives sarcastic answers. Next is the user role. This is what we're going to be inputting into our chatbot or into our AI model. And so in these examples, we have what's the capital of France, who wrote Romeo and Juliet, how far is the moon from Earth. Now, the response to this user is going to be in the form of the assistant role. So this is what AI is going to respond back to you. So the response is back to the first one, which is, what is the capital of France? Paris, as if everyone doesn't know that already. Or, who wrote Romeo and Juliet? Oh, just some guy named William Shakespeare. Ever heard of him? So we can see that the responses are more tailored towards a sarcastic response than if we were to just throw this in ChatGPT, we wouldn't get the same type of answers. Now, I bring this up not because you need to memorize the syntax of this code, but rather it's more important for you to understand what the assistant is, what the user is, and what the system is, so we can come back to this when we formulate our inputs later on. So this is all fantastic when there's specific questions and specific answers to those questions. But what if there's a series of questions or a full-on conversation that needs to go in a unidirectional manner? So that's when these multi-turn chats come into play. This allows you to have multiple chats within the conversation, and all of them are held within a single line of code. So when you're training this model, we're going to have multiple responses from both the user and the assistant within each of these lines. So looking here, we still have the same prompt. We have Marv is a factual chatbot that is also sarcastic. Then we have the user saying, what's the capital of France? And we can actually change whether or not it's sarcastic or it's just straight up with a weight. Don't really need to worry about that now. But here it's saying Paris, and then we can ask a follow-up question saying, make this more sarcastic. And so that's coming from the user. Now looking at the assistant, it's going to say Paris as if everyone doesn't know that already. And here the weight is going to be 1, meaning it actually is going to be sarcastic, whereas putting the weight as 0 before, and again, you don't even need to worry about the weight if you're just trying to do a full-on conversation and you want it to follow the prompts that you're giving it, you don't need to worry about it. But if you're having back and forth between the user and the assistant, I would recommend doing a multi-term syntax in order to get the ideal responses from your assistant. Now, the traditional way of preparing a data set is basically copying these different templates, putting them into VS Code, and then switching them out for your system, your assistant, and your user, and putting in your actual data sets. I'm going to show you the new way of doing this to save you a ton of time and make it so you're not manually adding your data set directly into the code. Instead of copy and pasting your data set into JSON code and writing it hundreds and hundreds of times to create your fine-tuned data set, I've actually built a custom GPT to do this exact thing for you. So this custom GPT, it'll take in CSV files, it'll take in plain text, and it'll take in screenshots to prepare a data set for you. So first, let's test a CSV. So I'm going to upload a CSV from my computer. And this is going to include the system, the assistant, and the user fields. And I've added different data within the spreadsheet. So this is now going to parse that information out and then put it into JSON. So we'll let this load for a sec here. It's currently analyzing the CSV. And it's going to put it into the JSON format that we've requested. So we'll let this load for a sec. We see our example prompt here. You're a professional fitness coach named Michael. You provide personalized fitness coaching and accountability. Here we have the user input. So this person said, I have some help. I need some help. I'm in the military going through boot camp and it's tough to stay in shape. Then the assistant's going to say, I respect the accountability, my guy. What's the toughest part for you right now? So that's typically how he would respond in this example. Let's try a different example where we input a screenshot. So let me go over to my DMs. I'm going to copy a DM and I'm going to paste it in here. So I'm going to say now, or I'll paste, now put this in JSON. Same format. Cool. And maybe I should have given it a system prompt, but we'll see what it comes up with here. Oh, okay, so this format is not what we want. We want to make sure it has no spacing and each chat is within one line. So here I'm just going to say, please format each chat in one line with the user, assistant, and system fields in each line. Now this is all formatted correctly, and we can now begin to upload this into our fine-tuning dashboard. I'm going to leave this custom GPT in the description so you can start formatting your JSON way easier than you could before. But now let's get into an example use case, which is creating hooks for Reels and TikToks. So I'm going to take a large data set, which I've already pulled from the internet, of hooks that have gone viral. So I'm going to prompt in my custom GPT. I am going to give you a data set of hooks. Your goal is to create related hooks as the assistant role, parentheses, this is ideally what you would output. Your goal is to create corresponding user inputs and corresponding system prompts in order to produce these hook outputs, period. And here I'm going to say a data set of Instagram / TikTok first line hooks. So I'm essentially saying I'm going to give you all of these assistant outputs, which are hooks, because we want to create a fine-tuned model that creates hooks that are similar to these outputs from these viral videos. So I want it to formulate a user input to get this hook. So like if I have a hook that's about pizza, I'm going to say like, give me a hook about pizza. And then we want to have a system input, so a system prompt that is saying like, you are an expert prompt generator. So I'm going to paste all these hooks here. And then I'm going to hit go. This is over 250 different hooks. So we'll give it a sec to output all of this information. All right, so it just finished generating our JSON. So we're going to go and copy this code. And you're going to want to download an application called VS Code. And so I'm going to pull that up over here. Now, don't worry, you're not going to need to code anything. This is more just for formatting in the correct file type that we want. So we can go to File, New File, and then we can name it anything we want. Let's do test video, and then we want to name it as a .jsonl file. And let's hit enter. Test video .jsonl. Create file. Now, it must be in this .jsonl file, or it's not going to work when you upload it to our fine-tuning dashboard. We can go ahead and paste this data in here. We can see it stopped generating data around line 30. I'm sure I could go in and say continue generating, but for the sake of this video, we'll just leave it at that. So if we want to take a look at one of these examples, we have our system input. You're an expert hook generator. We have our user input. Create a hook about being rich. Cool. And then we have a hook here. If you have $1 million, you're actually very poor, relatively speaking. So this is a pretty good hook. And we're going to be using all these hooks generated in the assistants to generate new hooks based on our user input. And then now we can go over to our fine-tuning dashboard. So once we're at our fine-tuning dashboard, we can click Create. We're going to select our base model, which in this case, let's do GPT-4o, since this is the most capable model that we can fine-tune at this point. And then let's upload a .jsonl file. We'll click Open. API must be .jsonl. Let's see what the issue is here. It's a JSONL file. Okay, so I'm actually glad that I ran into this error, because if we go to our file, we can see that this is 0 bytes. And the reason that is because I didn't save my file before saving it to this specific location. So I'm just going to hit save. And then now if we go back and we try to upload again, now it's 8 kilobytes. Let's open. Let's see. And there we go. Now it works. Another piece of helpful information, don't put spaces in the file name of your JSON file. I was getting a bunch of errors before doing that as well. So make sure it's all one string. Cool, we don't need any validation data here. Suffix, this is important because this is the suffix that's going to be added to the model that you're using. This example is going to be GPT-4o mini. All right, let me go, we'll do GPT-4o with the date of the last update as part of the model. But there's going to be a suffix added to this. In this example, we'll do hook generator, and this will be added to the end of this. So when we call upon this later within the applications that we're making, this suffix will be added to it. All of these are fine. These can be just at their defaults, and we'll hit create. Depending on the size of your data set, it's going to take longer or shorter to train your model. So I've trained models, it's taken 10 minutes, and other times it's taken a full hour, and it really depends on the size of your data set. Now, while this is loading, I do want to note a couple key points within VS Code. First, you want to make sure that each line, there's no spacing in between lines. So let's just say it looked like this and there was 2 spaces here. This is not going to work. It's not going to run correctly when you upload it to your dashboard. And on the same token, if we remove that and there's one additional line here and we were just to save it and leave it like this, it would also throw an error in this case as well. Another key point to note is when you're fine-tuning a model, you need at least 10 data points. So that's why in this case, we have 29. Obviously, the more data points that you have, the better that your model is going to perform. And while we wait for this to load, let me know in the comments if you fine-tuned models before and what your particular use case was. Because I know a lot of people out there will be like, oh, this is super cool, but they're going to need more examples when to actually fine-tune models. So if you could throw that in the description, I think it would be really helpful to add some perspective on when to use fine-tuned models. Alrighty, so it's been about an hour now since we first started training the model, and it is finally completed. From here, we can go ahead and start testing the model. All you need to do is go over to the playground. We can now select our new model that we just trained. So we're going to look for that suffix added to the model. Here we have our generator, and it's going to be the one that doesn't have the steps associated to it. We see hook generator and then step 58, step 29. This just automatically saves as it's going. So we just want to do the normal hook generator. So we'll click that. And quick thing to note is you're going to want to add system instructions here because it automatically defaults to you are a helpful assistant. In this case, we're going to say you are an expert hook generator. And essentially this is the system portion of that fine-tuned data that we gave the model within our JSON file. Cool. Now we can just say something like, create a hook about fine-tuning models, AI models. We'll run that. And here we go. There's an AI breakthrough that is so powerful that it has to be nerfed. That's pretty decent. Now we could say, create another one. You can make a super smart AI just by changing this number. Pretty decent. I don't know what it means by this number, but already it's a pretty good hook. So let's just try something a little less technical. Let's do something about eating habits for a fitness coach. Let's now create a hook around, let's do the carnivore diet. That. This coach only eats meat, but did he lose any weight? So pretty decent again, and you can go and modify this if you want to add a few words, and this is really good for just getting ideas for hooks as well and what could potentially convert into a viral video. All right, so now that we've shown that the model works and it's effective for our use case of generating hooks, we can now start to implement it within our Python applications or within our no-code applications. If we want to implement this within our Python applications, we can just copy this code snippet right here. And instead of this model right here, we would put the model name from our fine-tuning dashboard. So we can just go ahead and copy this model name and then paste it right here, and you're good to go. Now, you can also do this with no-code applications like Make.com or Zapier by simply just referencing the same model. So I just went ahead and pasted the model into the OpenAI module within Make.com. And we'll just say create a hook around AI and automation. We'll hit OK. We'll set our max token value to 500. Doesn't really matter because it's just a hook. And then we can go ahead and run this. And we can see AI just dominated everything. I'm talking about globally simplified. We already have a viral hook that can be used within an automation that we create. All right, now I do want to make a quick note. Only use fine tuning if you absolutely need to. So first things first, I would say try the traditional way of prompt engineering. I'll leave a guide below if you're new to using ChatGPT and you want to learn how to prompt engineer. If that doesn't work, I would recommend building a custom GPT or an assistant. This is essentially like prompt engineering, but it's going to be more narrowed down and you're going to get a better answer from your custom GPT. And finally, if that doesn't work, you can try fine tuning. So there we go. We've learned how to fine tune in the new UI that OpenAI has provided us. Again, if you want something like this installed in your business or within your operations, you could book a free audit call with our team down below. If you found this video valuable, consider subscribing, consider leaving a like. It's 100% free and it shows me what kinds of videos you want to see more of. Until next time, folks, I'll see you in the next video.